everyone. I'm Holly Love. Over the past few months, Talk Utah has been focusing on Utah's kids, and today we are going to take a look at issues and problems that are facing Utah's families. We are here at the Certified Hypnotherapy Training School. I am with Dennis Parker, who is the founder, and with John Hollingshead, who is from the Lighted Candle Society, who fights pornography and all of that. It's a nonprofit organization. Now, both of you have got your finger on the pulse of family problems in Utah from different perspectives. And so thank you so much for being here to talk with me today.
Pleasure being here.
Awesome. Dennis, let's talk to you first, because hypnotherapy as a solution to problems, I guess from my perspective, I always thought you probably needed to have some really big issues to go and be those are like the big guns when you go see hypnotherapy, to like draw back a ton of old stuff. And that's not the case. And this is definitely not what happens in comedy clubs. That's ridiculous if you think that. So tell us a little bit about what you do and the problems that you're helping.
What's different here is that our behavioral model is different. Okay, the standard behavior model is that a person thinks it, and then they feel it, and then they do it. I mean, that's pretty much the accepted general model. Our model here is different in that we take into account for the fact that we think it. Then we can actually make a decision as to whether or not we want to accept that thought and allow it subconscious access. Most people don't even know they have that ability or that they can have that kind of control. So when they do accept it, the next thing that happens is that it stimulates their imagination. And the imagination is a huge amplifier of emotional content. So the next thing that happens after they've amplified their imagination is that they'll attempt to justify, validate, and defend it through memories. So nobody wants to be wrong. You don't want to be wrong. I don't want to be wrong, right? So we're looking for validating data from our memories to justify whatever we've accepted as being right, true, and correct for us. So the thing that's different is we're adding two more behavioral components to the model, in that we understand and feel we've discovered how the imagination really works, and the justification that's coming from the memories, and how to desensitize the imagination, alter the perception of the memories, which now collapses the emotional content. And no emotion, no behavior. So, the general model is that we tend to behave the way we feel. Yeah. And if you no longer feel that way, then you no longer behave that way. And a person can take control of their life in that sequence.
Wow, that is really cool.
Yeah.
I love that. And you can see, basically how it can go from just everyday stuff to really big problems that you're having. It could fix marriages, families. It doesn't matter who you are or what you are. We're all in life, and life is tough, is basically it. And you're helping you understand how to deal with that. Now, Mr. John Hollingshead, you have an interesting perspective, because you are with the Lighted Candle Society, which has been fighting pornography for some time. That is their sole purpose. It's a nonprofit organization. And it is spearheaded by John Harmer, who has been doing this in 50 years. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, John Harmer is a wonderful man. He hails from California. He's an attorney. And under the Reagan administration, he was lieutenant governor there. And for 50 years, over essentially his whole career, he has fought pornography. About 15 years ago, he organized and is the chairman now of a nonprofit called the Lighted Candle Society. When he was introduced to Dennis, it changed very much his whole approach, because he finally found somebody for the first time ever that he can endorse, that could actually be therapeutically helpful to help people overcome pornography.
Wow. That's pretty huge, because he has been out there. He knows firsthand everything that pornography does and what it does to a life and a family, and breaking it down. And he's never really offered a solution. I know he's been out there trying to stop it and prevent it and create laws and tests to prove things all about it, to make it not so accessible to families. But to have that, endorsement is really amazing. And you have known for a long time the amazing effects of working with Dennis as a leader in the LDS Church, correct?
I've had great experience. In fact, I ran into Dennis initially through one of my daughters, who coincidentally had one of my grandsons helped with a very hard thing, enuresis or bedwetting.
Oh, wow.
And when I found out about that, I said, this is interesting. That is so hard to do. And I went up and chatted with Dennis, found out what he does. And when I found out how effective his therapy is, I've sent many people, whether they have marital issues, pornographic issues, issues with anxieties. He's just so effective. I highly endorse him. We have a I don't know if we can use the word cure rate, but we have a success rate of over 85% of the people we send to dentists. They go for it after just a few visits instead of 20 or 30, as is mostly the case.
Yeah.
4 or 5, these people usually learn mind management techniques that make them self-sufficient. That's critical.
Which normally therapy is years and years sitting on a chair and a couch and talking about all your problems as they come, and it sort of almost feels like it's never going to stop. I know that's been my experience in my life with therapy, and so to know that there is something available that is a short-lived thing and you actually learn how to manage your mind. Who doesn't have a mind? And I think managing it is probably a pretty good thing.
It is. In fact, to use a trite colloquialism, dentist actually teaches people how to fish, so they don't have to be given fish. They become self-sufficient. It's a wonderful thing.
And hypnotherapy, because again, I think, it's interesting. I actually don't go to the whole comedy club thing. In my world, I actually wanted to be into psychology, and what little bit I studied into it, it was like hypnotherapy was the big guns. I mean, you go to that when it's like you've really blocked some trauma and you've really got some serious stuff happening you got to deal with. So it's very serious and very technical, and not to say that that's not what he's doing, but he is able to deal with the everyday life stuff, which in your situation, having people come to you and families falling apart just from, financial problems and all the stuff that life brings, just to learn how to manage your emotions and your anger. And that's huge.
It is. In fact, I think there's a lot of misunderstandings about the term hypnotherapy. I have found, and I actually learned about Dennis by sitting in his chair and having him work on me so I could really say what it was about. I never felt like I was being hypnotized. I never saw anything unusual. There are a lot of, I think, very inaccurate depictions of hypnotherapy. I like to call what he does teaching people how to manage their minds and their emotions, and it's highly effective. I highly endorse it.
Extremely powerful thing. Okay, so now talking about a little bit more the endorsement from the Lighted Candles Society, Dennis, this is such a huge thing. I think it is huge for people out there fighting against pornography and trying to bring some kind of an answer and hope to the cause. There is a solution. Tell me why you're different and what it is that allowed you to get this endorsement.
Well, again, it's because we feel we've discovered how the imagination works.
It's that imagination thing.
It is the imagination. Pornography is an imagination problem.
Yeah.
And so, again, the key to that is that when a person is viewing pornography, they're off in their imagination, and the more they entertain those thoughts or they turn them up in their imagination, they're simultaneously turning arousal up. So the more they amplify it, the more aroused they become, and so on. Then the behaviors start from there because, again, we behave the way we feel. So if they know how to take their imagination and immediately start to turn it down and turn it off, arousal immediately goes away, bodily functions immediately change, and they're back in control in seconds.
And I mean, you don't even call it an addiction in that case, because you don't feel like it's an addiction. You feel like with the ability to control it, you have a hard time with that word is what I'm getting at. And it's okay.
Well, it's because I don't believe it's an addiction. As I deal with people, it's a long string of poor choices. And when we really teach them how to use their mind both consciously and subconsciously, which is what hypnosis is about, I believe hypnosis is what we would normally call pondering. If we were to take it out of the clinical setting into the religious setting, we would call it pondering, and we would call hypnotherapy meditation. And we all know how many times we've been told to ponder and meditate or figure out our problems. Yeah. And what this does is this puts a person in a state of mind where they can get access to their conscious and their subconscious functions at one and the same time. That's the power of it. So James 1:8 says that a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Consciously, we all think the same. Our problems are in the incongruent, inconsistent, rationalized, stinking thinking at the subconscious level. And so the answer to it is how do we get access to what's down here?
Running the show for real.
Yeah, and sometimes, we like to use the logo as the iceberg. The 10 to 15% above water is what we know about ourselves. The other 80-85% is what's buried below water that we need to get access to change it, because that's where the roots of the problem are. Yeah. And so through certain trance access, certain levels, it gives us access to that information. So now the person themselves can consciously go back down and change and challenge what they've been believing. And they really do it themselves.
Yeah.
So it's a facilitated program, if you will, more than like a counseling or I'm going to tell anybody what to do. They get to come in and read and fix it themselves. So they have that proprietary interest in their behaviors because they've made the new decision. So now they need to make it be right for them.
I think taking away the addiction word is empowering. And I think people who are out there and they feel like it's like this magical thing if you've got this addiction that is controlling your life and you can't do it. And it's like, no, that's not the case. You can actually control and get in there and be in the driver's seat of your own mind and in your own life.
That's right. And the people who come in and who want to cling to the idea that they're an addict are the ones that I say, they want to use that as an excuse for failure in advance. It's a disease. It's not my fault. It's not my problem. I'm not accountable. Mm-hmm. So we don't let anybody get away with that here.
I think families out there who have struggled and have not been able to have success, or a person out there who has not had success, that is maybe they've received that as kind of their death sentence and they feel, not hopeful. Hearing this information would be amazing. So I love it. I love that you take that out of the mix because I think it gives you some responsibility and empowerment. Now, before we have to go, I want to talk about people who are inspired from the standpoint of going to school. I mentioned I wanted to be into psychology and I find this stuff fascinating. I want to read your book. I love it all. If someone is out there and wants to come and be a part of your school and learn how to do this, how do they do that?
They can simply go to our website at certifiedhypnotherapytrainingschool.com. Everything's on the website. We're a total open book. The class schedule starts September 1st, this next go-around, and all of the details of how they can become a certified clinical hypnotherapist and actually set up a practice and do clinical hypnotherapy if they want to. Or we have more interest from parents and grandparents and people who would just like to learn these skills but have no intention of becoming a quote-unquote therapist other than working with their own family. And we allow people to do that at a much reduced rate and come in and still obtain the same clinical skills.
Oh, that's awesome. So if I want to come in and just take the class and learn about all of this stuff, totally available to do that, not starting a new career, or if you want to start a new career, both are available.
Either way.
Awesome. And for people who are not here in Utah, they can take your class online, right?
They can. We actually broadcast every live class right here. Yeah. And this last go round, we actually had somebody attend from Belfast, Ireland.
Really?
And it just depends on how good their internet is on their end. The school, we have it set up to where, our quality of broadcast here is really good. And so we have people who attend from Canada, Virginia, from all over the country, and they can get their certifications online.
That's amazing. Or just take the class like you said?
Yeah, just even local people on a snowy night here, we all just stay online and nobody has to travel. We don't go anywhere.
Oh, that's really great. Okay. Now, what if somebody wants to see you specifically for sessions? How do they go about that?
They can simply contact me or my office at 801-628-0693 or 97 is the last two digits of the office number. And then also I work with the Advanced Health Clinic here in Farmington, Utah. I'm here as the certified clinical hypnotherapist. They could also call the Advanced Health Clinic or they can contact me directly, either way.
Okay, that's fantastic. And you help people all across the country over the internet as well. John, we were talking a little bit about that. I mean, from your perspective, you deal with a lot of missionaries that sometimes have anxiety and issues come up, and you've referred them to John over the internet.
It's worked well. Students that are away from home, there's a great advantage monetarily and time-wise, convenience-wise. The students can be on the internet with Dennis from their dorm room. They don't have to come home, and a missionary anywhere in the world that had an issue that Dennis can help with can stay where he is, doesn't have to fly home, and can get the help he needs very quickly.
Wow, that's really cool. So now, Dennis, what if our friends out here mention they saw us on Talk Utah? What will happen? Great discount, right?
Yeah, we're going to give them a student textbook package, a value of over $200 for mentioning that they came in from Talk Utah as a student.
That is really awesome. And then I get those as well, right?
Yeah.
So I can start reading.
How could we turn that down?
I don't know, because I need to be like the best in the class and know all the answers. I'll be the annoying one.
There you go.
Or over the internet. That might even be easier.
Whatever works best for you. That's the way it works.
That is awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking to me, guys. And we'll do this again. I think there needs to definitely be follow-up with issues and focusing on families. It's obviously a top priority of both of you guys and everyone. And thank you for joining us. We'll be right back right after this.